All right, well, welcome, Triple H family, to the next exciting installment of our Success Stories series. I am really excited to be interviewing our next guest, which is Allan Longshadow, Managing Director of Motivate Me Limited, Editor-in-Chief of Motivate Me magazine, which we're a huge fan of here and contribute to, but also a success coach, motivational speaker, and author. And we're very pleased to be working with you, and thank you for agreeing to come on the podcast.
Likewise, thank you, Leo. Absolute pleasure to be with you this morning.
Well, as I say, welcome. So for those people that don't know you, tell us a little bit about your story, who you are, what you do, and kind of how you got to where you're at right now.
So my name is J Allan Longshadow. I'm the founder and chief editor of Motivate Me magazine. That's a digital-only educational and lifestyle magazine for people who are passionate about personal development. Career-wise, I mean, I started as a foreign language teacher. I spent 8 years abroad teaching English. Did a lot of work with business people while I was doing that, and also ran my own successful business as a language school. So for those sort of 8 years, I combined entrepreneurship and teaching on a daily basis. And it was a natural progression when I came back to the UK. I wanted to look at what was the next step. And I moved into coaching. It just sort of naturally rolled on from that. I started working with coaching people, especially in the field of business and entrepreneurship, but also a lot of people with career as well, because there's a lot of crossover. Personal development is universal, whether you're in entrepreneurship or looking at progressing a career. And it's always a hard choice for some people which way to take it. It was a hard choice for me to decide on going an academic route in my life, or indeed taking the risk, leaving it all and going solo. I took the going solo option. I've never looked back. And really what I do now is help other people with my experience and the experience of others to find their purpose, to try ideally to find something they're passionate about and really get to the next level in whatever it is they want to do.
Fantastic. What a journey. I mean, and how did you make that jump from being a coach to starting a magazine? Because that in itself, is a huge jump, and the magazine's great, hugely successful. It's a wonderful, place. If you're not there already, guys, you should be. It's really, really good content. And it's free, for the articles on there, So what made you decide to go from, coaching just people or groups, to actually, setting up a whole magazine?
So I've always written. As a child, I wrote a lot of short stories, short fiction. As an adult, I actually published a book of short fiction. It's not currently available, but perhaps I'll have to let it back into the world. So alongside everything else, writing has always been a huge passion of mine. Right. When I started the business Motivate Me, which was obviously an educational coaching profile, I started a personal blog as part of the website. And I was writing on a daily basis, sharing my thoughts, sharing things I felt would be useful to the audience. It grew really popular. As it expanded, I got a lot of people saying, look, we would really like to write on there. We'd like to contribute. And it just sort of organically evolved into where it is now and became sort of more detached from myself as a personal blog and became something much bigger and absolutely fantastic. And it's been absolutely wonderful journey getting other people like yourself on board and bringing other people's experience, expertise and views into the equation. But with doing that, I'm able to just offer so much more to the people who were following in the past and are following today, and just really help to make an impact on people's lives, even if it's just the tiniest way. But producing content and sharing content with a great group of people that can really make a difference.
Yeah, and are you planning on staying online only, or are you going to maybe move to print at some point as well, or what's the plan?
Sorry, I'm a little bit of a break in the connection there. Can I get you to repeat that question?
No worries. It's probably my internet, don't worry. So I was just asking, do you plan to stay online only, or are you going to move into print at some point? Is that an ambition that you'd like to have?
From a personal viewpoint, I would love to have a print magazine. There's something very special about holding, a physical, tangible magazine in your hand. Couple elements got to consider. Most of all is sustainability. both from a financial perspective and more importantly for me, an environmental perspective. Is I'm a huge fan of books, literature, and magazines. Is I'm very keen to stay online and reduce that footprint. What I would like to see, rather than a magazine which tends to be a rather disposable piece of literature, is longer term to curate a lot of the content into a periodical book, which I feel would still serve the same purpose, but have a much more environmentally friendly impact, I think, for the publication.
Yeah, a longer shelf life. That's a great idea. Yeah,
books tend to be shared, they tend to be kept, and they tend to be reused, and that's something that for me is very important. I don't like waste. I don't like creating excess and consuming in excess. So I think, and it's not a direction that I would like to go on from that perspective.
No, that makes good sense, and there's some great schemes out there, where you can leave books in public places to share with other people and swap books. And yeah, you're right; they have much more of a shelf life. I think that's a fabulous idea, and I think it's sort of, as you say, as a periodical, it's something that could really grow legs. I mean, as an author myself, and I'm sure you're the same. There is something just wonderful about holding your work as well, and holding a book. It's
absolutely. Physically turning a page is an experience that can't be replaced. No matter how great, there's some fantastic technology out there. I love technology, but turning a physical page in a book, even more so when you've written it yourself, I can share that experience. It is a wonderful feeling, and I don't think that will ever be replaced in our society. I think we should be very careful not to just write off books and printed media, but I think we should also be responsible with it.
Yeah, I think that's a great point of view, and yeah, I love that idea. So I look forward to hopefully seeing the Motivate periodical in the future. So moving back to success, and I think one of the most interesting things that's come out of this series so far is that every person we've asked this following question has a very different answer, and there's no right or wrong answer, which is the whole point in this series. And that's, how do you define success?
So I think for me, I've given it some thought, because it's a very hard thing to put a finger on. And what is success? And I think it's multifaceted. I think many people would say, well, it's this and it's this. But if I say from everything that I consider success, one thing really stands out for me, and that is being able to spend each and every day of my life doing something that I feel is really worthwhile. That's not just for myself. If I feel that I've done something that's worthwhile for me, that's given me some good value in my life, that's fantastic. But it's also the other side of that, which is giving something worthwhile to everybody you encounter, to the people you spend time with. So waking up every day and feeling that by the end of the day, you've made a positive impact on somebody's life, you've made a positive contribution to your life, and that's a good day. And that for me is success.
Yeah, I think your definition so far is the closest one to my own as well. I think, legacy is a big part of my personal definition of success, and just making a difference to people's lives and improving them. I think for me, is a great sign of success. And I think what I've found fascinating so far is that not a single person has said money. Nobody has said anything to do with money. It's all been things that are internal and free. And
absolutely.
I think it's a wonderful definition of success to have that feeling that you've helped someone. So
I think we've got to understand that in recent centuries, money has become the defining factor, money and material possession. But we need to be looking beyond that now, especially with the challenges we're facing in the world, and looking for values, not material markers for success. Absolutely.
Totally. I mean, money's an enabler, isn't it? It gives us the ability to do more, but it's not a limiter. There is. It is to some degree. Don't get me wrong. I recognise that having no money, is a very dire situation. But there's still a lot of satisfaction you can get from life, and even with very.
We have to remember that money, it should never be the end goal. It's we've got to be realistic. We all need money to survive. We live in a world where money is absolutely essential. We shouldn't get hooked on money being the end goal. It's something that will facilitate us achieving something great if we get it right. And we shouldn't neglect it in our search for success. We shouldn't assume that we can just disregard the financial side of life. It's a very important part of life and provides a foundation really in the modern world. but we have to put it in the right place and have it in the right place in our hierarchy of importance.
Yeah, I totally agree. So as part of your what has been a fantastic journey so far, what's been your biggest challenges, and how did you move past them? How did you overcome those?
I would say the single biggest challenge that I've faced is obscurity. I think that's something that many people trying to establish themselves in any field, whether that's career, whether they're starting off in a new direction in a new career after university, or going the entrepreneurial route, social media route. Obscurity. Now, there's a bit of a paradox, really, because we live in a world where everybody's online. Anybody can create a social profile. Anybody can establish themselves online. But the flip side of that is it's such a noisy place that it's very hard to be heard. It's very hard for you to stand out above other people, unless you want to go sort of the hack it with going viral with something that's just really maybe not really relevant to anybody, not going to change anybody's life in the long term. If you're looking at producing quality, meaningful content, it's an uphill battle to be seen because there is so much content out there. Key to overcoming that, I think, is persistence. It's persistently and consistently creating content that is to the best of your ability and is meaningful to other people. You've got to remember that it's not about you. Whatever you do, you're aiming to create something that's good for other people. And if you could just keep doing that for the long term, then you do have a very good chance of overcoming that obscurity and just step by step growing a fan base or a community.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head completely. Obscurity. What a great answer. Again,
I've got to credit Grant Cardone actually for that one.
Right.
It's something Grant Cardone tackles, and I do recommend reading him actually.
Okay.
But that it is the biggest obstacle, and I don't agree with everything that he says, but it is one aspect that I completely agree with him on.
Yeah, and I can completely sympathize with that. From when I started Triple H coaching, you start off and the only people who hear about you are the people who you already know. And, and that's fantastic if you can help those. But, the aim is always to go wider. And from my experience, I don't know if you agree, it can take a couple of years to start building that momentum where it starts to go, where, people pick it up and start rolling with it, unless you do something viral.
I completely agree, and I think patience is another word that absolutely must be in there. And again, we have a little bit of an illusion that we should have this immediate success if we decide to go solo and go into entrepreneurship. And it's no different, again, if you start off by yourself or if you start a career. You need to put the time into it. You need to be patient. You need to put the time into it, and you progress organically as and when you're ready, but you've got to be committed, you've got to believe, and you've got to be patient. It's a long haul. Whatever you're doing, you've got to do it for the long haul.
Yeah, and I have to admit, patience is not one of my best assets. I'm probably one of the most impatient people in the world, but there are ways to use that as well. And I think a lot of people as well, a mistake I've seen them make when people say, be patient, is they assume that being patient means doing nothing and waiting. Whereas in reality, be patient with action, and I think that's
it's a bit of a dichotomy, because at the same time, you have to be patient, but you've got to be executing all the time. You've got to be up every day. And this, I think, causes a lot of frustration for people, because there seems to be an inverse relationship for the amount of effort that's being put in at the outset to what they're actually seeing in return. But it's a crucial part of the process, and it's that first couple of years where you have to keep that belief in yourself that all this effort is going to be worthwhile. It is worthwhile, even if you've only got one or two people watching your video in the beginning, or one or two people reading your blog. As long as people are seeing it, then you just got to keep going and just believe that if what you're doing really is worthwhile, it will work out in the long run.
Yeah, self-belief, self-doubt. So, I mean, it's a really nice sort of segue into my next question, in that that kind of persistence and patience is, in the long term, very difficult to maintain. What do you do on a daily basis to keep yourself healthy, happy, and harmonious?
So I think that's a really important question, and it's very easy whenever you're involved in a busy career, I work with a lot of people with career coaching, and a lot of them say, well, all I do is career. I don't have a life outside of that. And that's not healthy. A lot of entrepreneurs tell me I'm working 16, 18, 20 hours a day, and I just don't have any time to invest in myself. That's not a good route to take. It really isn't. I've done that myself in the past. So I don't limit the number of hours I work, but I don't force myself to work for the sake of working. Work for the sake of work is a really dangerous route to go down. And it's very easy when you're an entrepreneur to believe you have to work 24 hours a day. So sleep is really important. Ideally, you want to get a good 8 hours sleep would be lovely, but I'm not sure I remember what 8 hours sleep is. I don't know, but
you've got kids for a start, so yeah.
3 kids, and a business is enough to keep you. But you do have to be firm and say, I must make sure I get X many hours of sleep. Everybody's different. Some people can get by on 5, some people need 8. You've got to judge yourself, but make sure you allocate that sleeping time. And if that means taking a power nap during the day when you've got a downtime, if you've got a time in the day where you just simply don't have clients to fill the space, you can make use of it. But getting sleep and refreshing yourself, really important. Fitness, don't neglect fitness. I'd say to anybody. For me, running is the main thing for me. I'm obviously, we've discussed, I'm training for the London Marathon, which is not far away. That clock is ticking very, very fast. But running, for me, I love it because it doesn't matter where I am. I can be on business anywhere at all. I can be halfway across the world. I can wake up in a hurry. I can go for a run. I just need my trainers. Yeah. So I don't have this feeling, oh no, I've got to go to a gym. I've got to do this. Running is something, there's always a space to run, even if it's half an hour. So I think it's a very flexible approach to fitness. And the other benefit for running is I find it a great opportunity to zone out. It's a great chance for me to just be in my space and just let my mind rest, let my mind wander. I often come back for a run with some of my best ideas, simply because I get detached. And healthy diet, just eating the right things, maintaining a good control over what you eat. For me, a decision I took about a year ago. I mean, I love coffee. I'm a massive, massive coffee fan.
Me too.
But I don't have a need for caffeine. I'm not a caffeine junkie. So I decided about a year ago to just go caffeine free for the main part. Okay. And I'd recommend anybody give it a try. Try cutting out things, try adding new things to the mix, and just find the balance. Yeah. When you wake up in the morning, from the get-go, you just feel great.
It's fantastic. I think that sort of self-exploration. People often forget about food in your diet and things like that. It's actually an exploration as well.
Absolutely. You've got to tailor it to yourself. Everybody's different. I would never preach that what works for me is going to work for other people, but explore. Yeah,
and I think as well, it's about explore on a daily basis. Don't be afraid to try things again. Because your body changes. You're as you become older, but also as your situation changes, your needs change. So your body requires different nutrients, and it's worth trying different things. And I've tried caffeine free. I was not a pleasant person to be around when I was caffeine free, so it wasn't for me. I, like you, love coffee, but I'm not reliant on it. If I can get one caffeinated coffee a day, then I'm a perfectly normal human being, but if I don't get it one day, I can cope. So I think it's about getting that balance of reliance versus enjoyment.
Exactly. I think if we can free ourselves from things we rely on, it gives us so much more freedom to explore in every aspect of life. It really does. And dependency is never a healthy thing. But again, we shouldn't just assume that something we particularly like is necessarily negative. There's so much negativity in the media. You mustn't eat this. You mustn't do this. And I think we have to judge for ourselves and listen to our bodies. That's a really key thing. If your body is telling you something, you got to listen to it and try to find the answer to what it's telling you.
Totally. And I think there's this horrible phrase in the industry, and particularly in the fitness industry at the moment, of clean eating. And it gives you this impression that there are such things as bad foods and good foods, and there really isn't. Everything's chemicals, and yes, some are better for you than others in terms of their side effects, but ultimately it comes down to how much you put in your body, what quality it is. I personally live a macro-based lifestyle, which allows me to eat anything I want in moderation. I just have to balance the levels of carbs, fat, and protein. And what form they take is up to me. And that works for me because I can eat ice cream every day and still lose weight. So that
do you eat ice cream every day?
I do, yeah, I do nearly every day, and because I love ice cream, but I fit it in and I still lose weight, and it's about finding what works for you. But it's a very regimented and planned system, and that wouldn't work for everybody. So it's about finding what works for you, not just in food, of course, but in all things in life. So,
and I think discipline is a key there, and that is across the board, is in every aspect. Again, is success and discipline are really, really closely related, and you need discipline in your diet. You need to know, okay, I've had something today. I've had enough calories. Much as I'd love to take something, it can wait till tomorrow. And knowing when to draw your own lines and not sort of just be led on. I think it's that's the real key as well. Learning to say no, whether we're talking food, whether we're talking job offers. Learning to say no is really important to your health and success.
Oh yeah, and I think all of us would look back and think of situations that we wish we'd said no to in the past. I can certainly think of a few recently that I wish I'd just said no to at the time.
As long as this isn't one of them, I don't mind.
Don't worry. But I mean, interesting as well. Mistakes and those challenges and learning to say no as one of them, is one of the things.
Yeah. Crucially important. A lot of people have spoken about it.
So if you could go back in time and approach yourself at a younger version of you at a different moment in time and give yourself some advice, when would you go back to and what would you say?
So I think I'd go back to a time in my childhood. It's a quite distinct memory. A time I was out with my mother. My mother used to wear long flowing wraparound skirts when I grew up in Cornwall. And believe it or not, and a lot of people don't believe me, I was the shy kid. I was the shyest kid you would ever encounter. Shy to the degree that one of my distinct childhood memories is when meeting a friend of my mother's who for me was a complete stranger and being asked a direct question. My response was to wrap myself up in her skirt, and that didn't end too well. The skirt came detached. It's a memory I'd always have. It ended up with me under a skirt and my mother without. But yeah, you can imagine that for yourselves. Now, the thing is, though, as a child, I was really, really not confident. I really struggled. I was shy. I would avoid any kind of form of contact. I really just didn't like. I didn't like other people, in all honesty, as a child. And certainly from my young years, I think that held me backward. I think I could have really established myself a lot earlier if I just had confidence. And that's no fault of my parents. I mean, they did everything to instill that. It's just naturally I was not a confident person. In fact, my confidence grew in my teenage years when I joined a performing arts group and started performing on stage. So if I could go back and change anything, I would say I would love to have discovered something much earlier on to help grow that confidence. I'd say to anybody who's parenting is if you can find and explore ways for your children to become confident, so they can express themselves as early as possible and really feel able to express themselves, that can really set you up for the future. It took me a lot of work, and it still takes me work. I still have days where I wake up and I have to remind myself, no, you are confident. You're a confident person. And I think that's the one thing I'd change is, obviously it wouldn't really be mine to change as a child, but I'd certainly love to see more opportunity to build confidence very early on.
That's really interesting because performing arts, you have to be confident to do performing arts. So it was almost a baptism by fire by the sound of it, that you've gone from being not confident and using something where you must be confident to participate, as to overcome that. It's fascinating. I think it's something everyone struggles with, whether they admit it or not. And actually, I think some of the most confident people I've ever met that appear to be confident are probably the least confident people. In reality, they have the most self-doubt and sometimes even the most self-loathing. And so, I think catching that at a very young age is a great idea. And certainly think it should be something, as a species, we do more of, to
Absolutely.
encourage our youngsters to be more confident in themselves, and that being confident doesn't mean being perfect. And I think, unfortunately, in this Instagram world, that's where we're going at the moment. Our generation seem to think that to be confident, you must be perfect at the moment. And
Yeah, and there's a lot of association, excuse me, between image and confidence,
yeah,
and we got to make sure from an early age that our children understand. We are all equals, we are all humans, and your confidence should not be dictated by the color of your skin, by your background, by where you're from, by any of your orientations. You are an individual, and you can be confident and be yourself. And I think that's just so important to impart that on our future generations.
yeah. So talking of the future, what's next on your journey?
So publishing is a really, big thing I'm passionate about, writing and publishing.
Mm-hmm.
So really, two key things is just continuing the growth with Motivate Me magazine, continue to expand the fantastic group of writers I've got. I'm just immensely proud of the privilege I've got to work with so many incredible individuals, yourself included. Really impressed with the diversity of the contributions that we have and the people behind them. So to keep expanding the magazine, bring in more and more writers to bring in their unique experiences and viewpoints, share their knowledge with the world. And publishing, so really to move into bringing some of the content, some of what we do into some books where people can really take it away and just take it to the next level, really.
Fantastic. Oh, as I say, it sounds really exciting, and
It certainly is, and it's all because of the people that well, it's two sides: the people I work with as writers, and the people that that read the publication, the community out there. It just makes it really, really exciting to wake up every day and get new material out there.
Yeah, and don't underestimate how important the hard work that you've put in as well is there. I think it wouldn't be there if it wasn't for you, and I think we as contributors and your audience are incredibly grateful to you for the hard work.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So thank you. Okay, so last question, and I think personally they're the most important one. Here at Triple H, we're about science-based coaching for people who want more. More out of life, and if you were, speaking to someone who said to you, I want more out of life, what advice would you give them?
I think I'd ask them to just step back for a moment and just take some time to reflect on what you actually already have, because sometimes more is less. We have this tendency to always be looking to the other side. We're taught the grass is always greener. And I don't think we take enough time to reflect on exactly where we are right now, because actually we've usually got an awful lot we can be very proud of, very happy about, right there in our daily life. And we tend to often not really see it. It tends to become masked. We tend to get a bit of tunnel vision. And we have to remember to live in the here and now as well. And that doesn't matter whether you're talking career, finance, personal life, your partner. I meet people who just are unsatisfied with the personal life and their partner, and a lot of the time we need to first take stock of where we actually are. And the fantastic quote about perfection, I can't remember off the top of my head the author, that the general gist of it is that perfection is achieved not by adding things but by taking things away and stripping things down. When there's nothing else that can be taken away, that is when you find perfection. I'm going to have to just check that one for you and let you know who the full quote. But this concept I like is sometimes we've got to take stuff away in order to really find more. By doing so, we get back to the core of who we are, what really matters to us. And then we say, okay, yes, there are other things that I do want to achieve beyond where I am now, but they're then balanced up in harmony with where you are already.
That's fantastic. And yeah, grab us that quote and we'll put it in the comments for the video here. I think that's fantastic. And I think, yeah, gratitude, I suppose it comes down to, doesn't it? Stripping it back and being grateful for what you have, will give you more satisfaction, from what you already
Absolutely.
have.
And, if you adopt gratitude and you start to look for what you can be grateful about, you suddenly realize, wow, I'm not investing in this area. I'm not investing in my relationship with my partner. Wow, I just had a brilliant day with my children, but I didn't show any gratitude for it. And suddenly you realize, no, my children aren't taking me away from my work. My children are giving me something that's worth so much more. And it's changing those whole perspective. Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Gratitude is key to that, really.
Yeah, what fantastic advice. Well, Allan, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule to talk with us and share your thoughts on success. If people want to know more about Motivate Me magazine and what's coming up, where should they go?
So the website is www.motivate.me. That's MOTIV8.me. Or social media, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're always under the same identity, which is Motivate Me Mag. Again, that's with an 8, MOTIV8, MEMAG. So yeah, join us out there. And also, of course, if anybody pops over to your profile, I'm sure they'll see some links over. So that's as well a great route over. Just search on some of your feeds and they'll find the magazine out there. Yeah. It's been an absolute pleasure to be speaking with you today. I'm really, really grateful for the opportunity to have this conversation, and I really hope people gain something from it.
Yeah, I'm sure they will, and I'm sure it's the first of many things that we'll be doing together. And yeah, you're exactly right. If people are watching this on the Facebook page, you'll find the link to Motivate's Facebook page as one of our liked pages down on the right-hand side there. You'll also find all the links in the comments if you're watching on YouTube or anything else. Well, thank you again, and wishing you the best of luck for the future with Motivate, whether it be only online or for the periodical that we're also excited about now. And we'll speak again soon.
Fantastic. I look forward to it. Have a great day.
You too.